Thank you for coming back to Fat Earth Smarts. So, you've gotten yourself over the initial bump that is Flat Earth, and as you've already seen, there are more questions. So, put your questions to one side for a moment. Flat Earth is not an open and shut case. If it were, you'd have found your answers and would now be happily exploring some other fact of life. Flat Earth is, to some extent, a unique subject. It is also a massive subject that reaches across so many things in this world. If you're looking to find answers that are in any way related to the shape of the Earth, each question starts with a hurdle. How do you ask somebody how the moon works if they think you live on a ball? You'll get the stock answer that it reflects sunlight, and are likely to get little more than that unless you add that you also think the Earth is flat too. So you have to explain your flat Earth thing first then. Provided you don't send people scurrying for cover, you might get a better answer to your moon question. The alternative, and this seems to be the preferred alternative, is to seek all your new flat Earth related answers from other flat earthers. That presents you with another set of complications. The flat Earth community, as most of us know it, is an extremely new community. Virtually nobody was asking these questions up until a couple of years ago, and the sources were relatively scarce. So you have questions that most people think are dumb to begin with. It can seem a little lonely at first. Here you have this wonderful new truth which most people want to tell everyone else about, and nobody to tell it to. There are enough flat Earth nutcases to go around, and some to spare. So which ones do you listen to? Let's be clear at this stage. As in all things, there is good and bad. And that's without the added complication of some who simply want to spread disinformation. You will undoubtedly want to build your own list of people whose opinions you have learned to trust in this matter, and an unfortunate side effect is that we each build our own network of people. Indeed, if you read any good psychology book, you'll find that the factors on which each of us builds trust in someone else are too numerous to count. I would like to pull one thread from that particular garment, that different personalities can be harmonious or they can be troubled, and there's no quick fix by which to get through them. And so you will have to wade through them all for yourself and decide whose opinion you value. And please don't make the mistake of thinking that you can get the full measure of someone by watching them on YouTube. Remember, politicians have crafted selling a personality into a fine art, and the good guys have bad days too. For some reason, Flat Earth has been co-opted into the truth movement, whatever that may be, and with it, people have attached a whole range of attributes and expect everyone to suddenly adopt them without question. Deciding that the Earth is flat does not instantly make you into an honest and upright citizen of the world, although it is granted that most flat earthers can smell the proverbial bull a mile away and don't care to smell it for long. In short, I'm sure there are some liars, murderers, psychopaths, and other dysfunctional personalities who think the world is flat too. One of the more unique qualities of the flat earthers is that they are not intent in finding a leader. The flat earth community, for want of a better phrase, is somewhat organic. Flat Earth does not have a head office or headquarters where great directives are issued and complied with. Where you go, and more particularly whose advice you choose to hear, is entirely up to you. Individual reactions range from a non-committal "so what, the Earth is flat" to a more boisterous "get your pitchforks and let's go and burn some space agencies down." Neither will achieve solid results in the long run. As I've said a couple of times, in the first instance, you don't need to go and do anything. Take your time and see who goes where. It's not for any of us to be concerned about who is sleeping with whom, and it's not for us to put anyone in charge of this. It won't take you long to start figuring out who is worth listening to. For my part, I don't put much store in people who hide behind anonymous electronic names. If you put your trust in the arrangement of a few pixels on a screen, you are likely to gather nothing more than a few dots. Yes, this subject does engender a somewhat conspiratorial mindset, but against that, the only alternative is complete anonymity, which is as bad, if not worse. Some prefer to take the opposing view. In other words, they loudly proclaim themselves and all their worth, and expect instant recognition, and, while they can occasionally be a little tiring, I am inclined to give them a little more credibility. Yes, some have chosen to build themselves a career in the flat earth community. It's not for us to oppose or endorse them one way or another. There's nothing wrong in making a living doing something you enjoy, and in the right place they also attract others and bring good things together. So take something from their success. After all, what's to stop you doing the same thing? In the final analysis, I'm inclined to put a little more store in those who are open and generally accessible. Some of the more recognisable names have been more than open about how you can get in touch with them, and while some have done nothing more than give a few contact details, others have been more than prepared to respond and should be appreciated for their time and effort. Let's remember that we are all private citizens and, as such, are entitled to a private life. Your opinion about the shape of the earth can really only be based on one thing, that is, proof that meets your own standards. I trust Mark will forgive me for using his example, but if your reason for deciding the world is flat boils down to "that nice Mr. Sergeant said so," it is really nothing more than the same house of cards that has been used to build the globe for so many years. There are good flat earthers out there, and while I am sure they have their own bad days, on balance their counsel is sound. Some have done some wonderful experiments, some have drawn some wonderful diagrams, and others seem to have a gift for putting the most complex arguments into plain speech. None of them have all the answers, and it can be a useful skill to simply see how others look at a problem. If flat earth was an open and shut case, then nobody would have any need to argue further. But it's not an open and shut case, and we do argue. And finally, don't lose sight of the fact that some people floating around flat earth really don't care one way or the other and have turned YouTube into something of a Facebook on steroids. It's entertainment, it costs less than a TV license, but their input is no more valuable than the evening news. Your mission, should you choose to accept, is to find the good ones and simply listen.